Hello, YouTubers! This is National Master Luke Calhoun, and welcome to my speed run, where I attempt to go from a rating of 800 all the way up to hopefully around 2,000 or so through the course of a few videos. So what I'm going to do is, for these videos, I'm going to exclusively play the Philidor defense and the Old Indian defense. Why? Because I wrote courses on both of them, and I kind of want to show you some of the interesting positions that can arise. I am playing white occasionally, so when I play white, I'm going to try to waste a tempo and then just play the Philidor or Old Indian in reverse, as the case may be. So that's the plan. As a warning, I am not used. I don't have like a ton of experience commenting while I'm playing, and I find it a little distracting to be talking about my thoughts. So in a few trial runs before this, I was like running out of time. I think I've gotten it down to a nice pace, but just kind of bear with me if I get distracted while trying to multitask between the entertainment, the informational, educational value of these videos, and then also, on the side, playing a little chess and thinking about the positions. So I have set up a speedrun account. This is Tester Chester, and I'm just going to play a few games. I'm going to put the settings to be at 5 minutes. That way I have a little time to talk. My goal is to use about 3 minutes to 5 minutes for the actual play and 2 minutes for just commentary as we go. So here we go. Starting off. And I'm playing against a 784 to start the speedrun. And they are opening with the Grob, which I think is a pretty decent opening. So I'm going to play D5. And you can play the Old Indian back, but I don't think there's any reason to be afraid of the Grob. Now, the idea of white's play is that if I take this pawn, they get a lot of compensation attacking the D pawn. So the Grob is not an opening that is necessarily super easy to play against if you just kind of follow your intuition. But if you just play C6 before taking, you should be fine. Actually, without bishop G2 on the board, I don't think they have compensation if I take the pawn. So now I've changed my mind. I'm going to take the pawn and just kind of hope that I'm okay. White has some compensation because they have this open G file, and they can attack my bishop, which is mean. And now I have a decision. Do I give up the bishop pair and ruin their pawn structure? Or do I keep the bishop pair but not have the ruined pawn structure? I think in this case, I'm going to ruin their pawn structure, especially since it comes with tempo. And I'm just going to completely take the center. I'm a big fan of like pawn structures where you make this pawn chain, but when we can take the center, it's always good to have space. Space can be good. We can just like stretch out our arms and enjoy it, and that's what I plan to do. By the way, unlike my chessable videos, this is not going to be edited or anything because I only get one try at these games. So if I hang a queen or something while trying to talk to you, unfortunately, I'm going to have to just live with the humiliation under these circumstances, and I'm fine with that. So, but know that usually I better edit the videos when it comes to these type of things. Okay, so my opponent is moving pawns. I'm just getting out my pieces. I don't think any drama needs to happen at this point. Castle and Kingside looks a little worrisome because we've got the G file, but if I play Queen D7 to Castle Queenside, they're going to hit my queen with there. So maybe Queen E7, just keep my options open for a little bit. I don't think it's bad to Castle Kingside. I just want to be precise. Okay. So they're going to attack that. I'll just have them make a decision. Oh, and I'm hanging a pawn. This is already an example of the problem of multitasking. So, okay. I still should have some compensation, especially now because they just dropped their knight. But I'm going to have to try to improve as the speed run goes on from just hanging pieces while talking. Okay. So I'm up a piece. Generally, what I want to do is just play a very no-drama chess. I'm going to attack the queen, eye that pawn, also eye that pawn. And it looks like I can take here. I can be super fancy and take with the queen, because then if they take back, I can just liquidate everything. That is actually really tempting. But maybe I think just trading the knight for the bishop is good enough because now they won't be able to castle. And as a bonus, I get to attack their rook. Okay, so they can't castle. They have some pressure there. If I castle, then they'll probably take on h6, and then I'll be in trouble. So instead, I could castle queenside, or I could guard the pawn. I don't think I need to guard the pawn. I mean, that's a lot of lost tempos. And in the event that they take the pawn, they'll actually lose a rook because of that. And then that also loses a rook because of this. And so I'm just going to take the pawn. Sorry, take the rook. And now I'm up a sizable amount of material. So I'm going to just kind of still try to play aggressively. When you're winning, sometimes you can get too passive trying to trade pieces, and it's important to still stay engaged. Okay, so they're pinning this bishop. I would like to unpin it. So let's just move here. No drama if possible. Okay. They can take that. I'm cool with that. I would love for my queen to enter the game, so I'm going to try to make something happen. The goal here is for the rook to help the queen slide next to the king. And if not that, then I can open up files to attack the enemy king. So let's do that. They're threatening queen takes bishop. That would be an embarrassing way to lose. So I have to make sure I don't lose that way. But I think I'm okay. I can continue to check them. And their king is very exposed, so I'm just going to keep checking them, and if need be, I'll move the bishop. It looks like I can play check and just trade the queens. Maybe even more than that, but that should be enough to win because, you know, they're dished down a lot of material here. I could play check. I'm not sure if anything is gained by making their king go to b3. So instead, we'll just trade the queens. We'll just make this very, very simple, and then I'll just try to win the endgame. Try to win a pawn, move the rook to the 7th. Looks like we can win this pawn. Yeah, and I don't, you know, I don't think that my opponent has much hope here, but I wouldn't be resigning at this rating range. I think that there's still chances. So it looks like I have this really cool move, check, and then win back the bishop, but then they can move their king to attack my other rook, and it's still winning, but it's not as glorious as it could be. So I'm going to again play this kind of simple. I'm going to just double my rooks on the 7th and just take a lot of pawns. We'll play check. I have to be a little careful about this rook check at the end. So let's just guard that in a very simple way. So one of these pawns is going to fall. So I didn't lose a pawn. They're going to lose a pawn back. And I like what they're doing. They're just kind of like getting the king in the center. That makes a lot of sense to me. Because they're losing, so they're going for some kind of Hail Mary. I'm going to guard the back rank, though, and not let them do anything to me and ruin their fun a little bit. Let's just guard the bishop. I'll let them check. I mean, it's not the end of the world if they check there, but why let them have any fun at all? We'll just play check. And now I'm going to be able to trade the rooks. Which should make things simple. Take this. Take this. And then now I'll play kind of fast because this game is over. A rook and a bishop just wins. So very little commentary coming. I'm just going to, okay, there we go. They resigned. Okay, so moving on up. I'm 808, feeling good about the world. So this is the English opening, and I could play d6, but I mean, if they let me play e5, why not play e5? And now I'll play d6, and I'll get this pawn chain that I love. I'm obsessed with this pawn chain, so let's just play it. And unlike the Old Indian, I think I'm going to take a little bit more space because they're allowing it, so why not? And I'll just continue developing my pieces. And we'll develop in kind of Old Indian fashion against the English opening. And I guess they have this hope by putting the queen and bishop here that I'm going to just lose a lot of material, but I'm not. Okay, so a serious decision. Do I want to take the knight? They will get pressure on the c-file. I don't take the knight. They're going to potentially win the bishop pair, but that is my bad bishop. I think I could do without that bishop. I'm just going to play c6 and ask them what their plan is. Okay, so they're going to give me the, well, not the bishop pair, but this kind of helps me because I was a little stressed in terms of space. So, okay, this is a cheapo. They want me to take, and then that's not checkmate, but it's still annoying if their queen can come in. So I will not oblige and take them. The question is, how do I defend it? The simplest way is probably here, but this move also looks pretty good. Yeah, let's play here. I think it's just it's nice to gain space, and I'm loving my bishop. Loving that bishop. Okay, so I think I can take. I think they missed something. So when I take, the problem is they can't take here because I have a discover check, and then they lose their queen. So yeah, that's a bummer for them. And now I think I can finish them off. I'll attack this and also this. This play becomes very forcing. They, I think, have to move. Oh, they can't go there because then I'll go here, checkmate. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of a preview of how to play it against the English. You just kind of take the center when they do it. So as white, I'm going to have to play. I'm going to have to waste a tempo. So what I'm going to do is it's just going to take me 2 moves to create the pawn storm, the pawn chain. And I guess chess.com describes this as the cow, which is an ode to Anna Kremling, I believe is her name, who kind of created this to invent her own opening for her GM parents. I don't like it when they call the Philidor a cow. I feel mildly insulted, but it's fine. And this is the Philidor in-game line. This is actually very hard to play for black here. This is Philidor reversed. And so what I'm going to do is just put my bishop here because this bishop is really good on the square. And they'll probably check me. The reason why this is so tricky to play for them, though, is because this knight ends up much worse than my knight, because I'll put a pawn here, and then this knight will just be out of play. And so I'll get all this attack on this pawn, and I'll like pawn storm, I'll gain space, I'll relax, I'll live in happy meadows, and it will be a little tricky for black to respond. So they're going to attack this pawn. I'm going to defend it because I don't like to lose pawns. And if I took back the knight, I would lose the pawn, so we're not going to do that. These doubled pawns are not a problem at all. This pawn now has the pawns back, so now I can frolic. I'm getting ready to frolic. Okay, g6, I guess the idea is to put the bishop here, but it's going to have weaknesses later in the game here. I don't need to play that immediately, but I'm just like eyeing it. I'm going to continue to play very normal moves and then just play against that knight. No, do I want my bishop here to attack this pawn or here to attack that? There's a lot of options here. Okay, so they're going to try to live here, and honestly, I'm fine with that. I don't really care. Bishop here looks really good, but I usually like to put the bishop here in this opening. Let's put it here. It just comes with tempo, and this move is so weak that I think that maybe I can be very aggressive here. And it looks like maybe they want to play f5. Yeah, but the problem is after takes, I could just fork. So that's another advantage of the bishop being there is I can come in. I wish I had like bishop here, and if they moved here, then this fork here. But they can block with the bishop, so that's all just wishes. Beautiful, beautiful dreams about what I can do. My opponent has been playing pretty sensibly, but it's just this position is tricky. It looks like they've disconnected, so they'll auto-resign in 10 seconds. They're losing a pawn. It's not game over by any means. Okay, they're back. Nice. Okay, so I can take this pawn. I think it's safe to take that pawn. Okay. This pawn looks weak, but it's very safe. If I put a bishop here, it's not going to die. It's going to be fine. And I have the bishop pair because they gave me that for the doubled pawns, which I can undouble later in the game with like a move like f4. So that's pretty sensible. I guess they could push one day. I'm just going to make sure my rooks are connected. And then if they attack me, do I get greedy? That's very greedy, but I don't see why not. Greed can be good. Let's just keep gobbling it up. If in multitasking I drop a piece later, now I have a little bit of assurance that I'm just up a few pawns. So it's black. I would probably take this square with my knight. Seems like a pretty good square to take. I don't really know the in-game plan though, so it's still tricky to play for black because this bishop is kind of blocked. It can't go here. So that's not really working. This knight, you might notice, cannot move anywhere. If it can go here, I guess, but then it has nowhere to go from there. So this is kind of the issue in these lines, is that it's very difficult for black to find moves for their pieces. So I'm going to play here just to guard this pawn one more time. That way my knight is a little bit more free, and also to maybe double and isolate their pawns. It's a really bad knight, so I'm not super eager to do that, but I just feel solid. Okay, so they're going to try to take my knight. I'm just going to play very safe. I'm going to defend it. And then I'm going to just offer to trade because I'm winning in material. So I could retain the bishop pair, but at this point, I'm just kind of trying to simplify. So I'm going to play here. And then I'm going to go for a big trade with the extra pawn, hopefully queen. Not a flashy mate or anything, but gets the job done. Difficult for black to respond to this, like, just cool, even pressure that just kind of builds up. And let's see if they'll trade the rooks off the board and ease my task a little bit. Their bishop is still the worst bishop. It's just sitting in front of the pawn, up against the glass. Not able to do much. Okay, so we'll trade rooks. And maybe they'll keep trading with me. Trade with me. I want peace. I'm winning in material. The reason, if you're newer to chess, the reason why trading is really good is because when you're winning, think of it as not just the point system, like I'm up 2 points, but think of it as a percentage of total. So it's 2 points out of, and then you count how many possible points are on the board. Okay, so I have the same number of pawns on this side as they do. So I don't really have an advantage there. So I really want to push this pawn. This is like my ticket, because that's where I have the advantage in terms of pawns. And generally in the end game, that's kind of what you want to do. You want to push the pawn where you have an advantage over your opponent. And this one's a pass pawn specifically, so I'm going to just keep pushing it. We'll trade bishops. And then I'll put a rook behind the pass pawn. And then I'm going to just use my knight to, like, get it out of the way. Move, rook. Get out the way. Move it. Get out the way, rook. Get out the way. And until this pawn is just, this princess is growing up to become a beautiful butterfly queen. And that's the goal. My opponent has 24 seconds too, so they're also under some time pressure. They can't relocate their knight because the pawn would fall. So again, very, very tricky position for them. And I'm going to just relocate my knight to attack their rook. This is going to continue the march. Okay, we can trade. I'm okay with that. So I'll move this here so their rook can't go away. One day they will trade this, but the thing is, when they trade the rook for my rook for the pawn, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble because I'll be able to make a pass pawn up the middle of the board. So that will be fine for me. It's kind of annoying that they're... Okay, I'm just going to waste a tempo. Eventually, they'd have to back away and I'd play f4 and create another pass pawn and win the game. But not a bad job by my opponent. They played very sensible chess. And this time is knight to king, bishop 3. So they're playing e4. I'm going to play the modern Philidor with d6. play knight f6 to attack the e4 pawn. I take it they're going to play knight c3. That's what they usually do. They usually think I'm playing the perk. And then I play e5. And this is the Philidor defense. So trading queens is just the line we just saw with Keller's reverse because I wasted a tempo. And I love this line. And they're playing the same line. So we're gonna go down this road again. Give me this in game all day, every day. This in game is just great for black. Again, the knight's gonna be weak, and then I'll just kind of illustrate. It's kind of nice that they're playing this too because this is the club player main line. This is a new move, but they don't have any threats, so I think I can just play this move, which is a move I wanted to play anyway because we play this move in the Philidor. That way we can check into the Hilton on c7, which is where we want to stay and live and breathe and have some pizza. So my opponent wisely just retreated, and I'm going to unpin my knight and connect my rooks. And generally what we're going to do is we're just going to pawn storm and hopefully win some pawns due to this being shaky. This pawn can come under attack because this knight here and that knight there, and also I can take out the enemy knight there. So that's the game plan, and that attack is not easy for white to deal with, especially at the club level. So I think that they're in for a lot of stress. And let's start with just this move, threatening to take the knight and then take the pawn. Or at least double isolate the pawns on c3 and c2. Sometimes you can go here and attack that pawn. It's another idea. That's what I kind of did in the last game, and bishop c5 would have been fine too. b5 would have been fine too. This position is not like super forcing, but I like this plan. I'm also threatening to rob them of that pawn in certain positions. They're taking a deep think. Okay. They decide to bishop d2. That's an interesting move. So I guess the idea is that they will take here. So when I take, they take, and then this will be attacked. So fair enough. But then how do you defend this pawn is the question. So what if I go back to this plan? I guess I could have moved my knight in too. I was a little worried about discovered attack. So like check and kill the bishop. Might not have been possible, but yeah, okay. I'll double isolate your pawns. And we'll just attack that again. Maybe this is wishful thinking. I don't know if I can actually win that pawn, but you know, it's a pleasant thought to go after it. And you know, there's also this strap here, and maybe I can even create this nice pawn chain. And I'm just very strong. Another idea was knight c5 to try to hit this, but the issue is this knight is not easy to move because this pawn is hanging. So it looks like I'm going to win this pawn. I don't really know where this bishop goes. I guess here. But if they go here, they block the d file. If they go here, they block the defensive g2. So everything kind of looks passive to me. Maybe if I was them, I'd play here and try to double isolate my pawns back. Okay, I'm taking that bishop. That bishop is good. It's a good bishop. So if you can take the bishop, it's good. And so now they have the idea of here and maybe some counterplay. So I'm just going to like create a porcupine here to stop any counterplay. Okay, I guess they could move their knight there. I'll take it if they do. I'm going to just attack that pawn. How do they defend that? Can they defend it? I'm not sure. Okay, so they could play knight f5, then knight takes pawn, then knight takes pawn, threatening knight takes bishop. And if knight takes rook, knight takes bishop, king d6. Knight takes knight, king takes knight. I think that's winning for me. But very, very complicated. And a little unnecessary. If I wanted to play safe, I can just take the knight without calculating anything because I'm up a solid pawn, and the position is also kind of very solid for black. So I think they're trying to calculate how they're going to defend that pawn. I don't know. I don't know white. I don't know how you're going to defend it. Again, probably knight f5 is the best way to make the game crazy, but it also looks like it is just winning for me. So I don't know what they do. Okay. So we're going to have to do some calculation. So I can take this, and then they will take this, and then we both want a pawn. And then I will win a rook. They must take my bishop, or else I'll just move my bishop away and be very happy. I guess they have this idea of knight takes with the idea of rook takes f6 later. You know, I think that wins for me. If this was slow chess, I would totally invest more time. But this is just so simple. And I would love to show you just how to win a pawn up in standard fashion rather than entertaining a ton of fireworks. So we're going to just trade rooks. Trade rooks. And now I need to get my king in the game because it's in game time. It's in game time. So let me see. I want to push at some point, but I don't want them to be able to live here and then maybe here, although it's not so bad. So here, then my king comes in, my king comes in again. Yeah, that's looking kind of fun. So my king can move in. I think I'm okay. I can play c3. Yeah, so I could play knight d3, but I don't... Oh, knight d3 is pretty good. It allows their knight to come here. But then I'm threatening check and kill that pawn, and I'm also checking that pawn. So it seems like it's a good double attack. I could have also probably just marched my king. Probably the safest option, but I was a little worried about b4 kicking my knight and then coming in. And there being like weaknesses. So let's play here. This was the original idea, and then we take here. And then I can try to collect that pawn like that. And okay. Okay, so again, we have 3 pawns to 3 pawns over here, so I'm just not going to touch these. I'm just going to move the places where I have the pass pawn. And if I wanted to, I could go dine on the king side, but there's no need. I can just go straight up the middle. This is a textbook win. Okay, yeah, and he wouldn't have been able to, or she wouldn't have been able to stop me from getting a queen there. I pushed the pawn and scored it with my king. Okay, so now let's again waste a tempo. So I'm going to just play the same pawn structure, but instead of moving there in one move, it's going to take me 2. It's like I'm going to short step, and then I'm going to play here, and now I'm going to go for there. So they're stopping me from doing that right away, and therefore I'm going to do a very typical old Indian move, where I'm trying to protect it, and then they're stopping me again. This is kind of a new position to me. I would like to play e4, so the bishop's in the way. So I'm going to say, like, can you please move? I would like to play e4. And hopefully they'll let me do it so I get my pawn chain that I'm obsessed with. Okay, and then they're pushing. It's fine. I might as well just take space on the other side of the board. My pawns are pointing this way, so I'll play that way. Okay, I could take... I would give them a kind of a nice outpost with their knight, so I'm not wild about taking. I'm willing. Play f4. My knight is hanging if they move their knight, so a touch worried about that. A touch. Not panicking, but I'd prefer if that was not hanging. I guess I could play f4, and then they sack. Yeah, and then that's a little bit of annoying. Okay. I could take, they could also sack, but then I just come back. I think that's okay for me. Oh, taking is... is risky. They can really guard that square. Another option is just to move the knight back. Not super exciting. This is feeling a little like a king's gambit because they can technically take the pawn and play b5 if they want, but okay, now they're just, I think, losing a pawn. I mean, maybe they can hold that. They're gonna have to play a move like b4 or something. Okay. Yeah, if I play here, they will be able to kick that, so I'm not gaining a pawn. Let's just continue to develop. I don't want a knight to live there, so I'm going to just insist that they move or trade. They can check me, but it doesn't do anything. G3 is fine, especially when I have a bishop there. I guess I have queen h3 and I can't castle. A mild annoyance, but not the end of the world at all. Castle now. They're playing pretty well. So Moda Vita C. Very good. Very well played positioning. Usually when they attack my rook, I like to just move it up one. It's not like this is at any great risk. Ooh, that's a little scary. They're castling queenside. That means we're in a pawn race. I could sack a pawn for an open file. Usually it's worth it. If I want to play more cautiously, I can play a3, b4. I'm a little worried that it will be too slow. I'm going to just sacrifice a pawn right away. If we've castled opposite wings, usually it's okay to sacrifice a pawn as long as you open a file. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just open a file to get at the opposing king. And then I will attack their queen. And I need to figure out a way into the black king side. Usually when they've castled opposite wings too, the game ends in checkmate. So this is probably going to be a pretty bloody affair. And that's why pawns don't matter as much as well, is because oftentimes this game will end pretty abruptly with someone getting mated. Okay, I think I really want to attack this pawn. I'm going to reroute, like one option is to just sacrifice a pawn to open up the bishop. They can block with c6, and then maybe that will be a little bit weak. I guess I could play queen e2. And it's still okay. This is weakening, so I have to be. I'm not sure this is the right course. It's definitely risky. I'm at 147 too, so I might need to minimize a little bit of my commentary moving forward so that I don't get into time pressure. Whoa, that's a little scary for them. Okay, if I check, what are they going to do? Okay, but then I check. Are they going to block or move king e8? I'd like to move my pieces over just a little bit more. Okay, now I'm threatening rook e1, which will win a queen. Now, I'm also bishop c6 ideas can be played. I'm glad they don't have any like way to trade queens here with check. Thank goodness for that bishop. Because if I were them, I would want to liquidate right now because their king is just right in the middle of everything. As I told you, this is usually a bloody affair when they castle opposite wings. Very scary stuff. And I don't know if I'm black. I don't know. Maybe bishop e6. That way there's no n. White should win this if white plays correctly, I'm pretty sure. But okay, so now I can at least, the very least, win material with rook e1. I think bishop c6 might even be better. But they can take the bishop and get a rook and a bishop for the queen. Well, here they're only getting a rook for the queen. So actually, I think this is the better way to go. So the queen is pinned to the king. So they cannot take the rook. And yeah, we'll trade off those. Now, I think the fastest way to finish them off is bishop c6 at some point. But maybe rook takes g7 with the idea of takes g7 looks really good too. Yeah, we're going to play rook takes g7. We're going to threaten mate there. We're also threatening to move in with our queen with a very nasty check there. And bishop c6 is still an idea on the board. The idea of rook g7 is just to make it so when I can move my queen without them taking my rook with their king. So we'll continue to check. And I think this is going to be a game over. They can block with some bishops, but eventually queen is coming to dinner, arriving gloriously on the e7 square. Checkmate. I could have even taken with the rook. I wanted to be poetic, but it was a good game. Okay, oh, I guess we're on a rematch. Okay, so they're playing e4. I'm going to play the Philidor. This is really common at club player level, and if I cruise control and play e5, they play here, and I get in trouble because I can't defend that well, but this just hangs a pawn, so don't go on cruise control, and I guess they're just mortified that they lost a pawn, so they're resigning. Seems like they could have fought for more, but I get it. I've been there. So I'm going to play the Philidor against Meetant, 872. I'm now 848. I've gained 48 rating points. When they check, I always play c6 because that's kind of my jam anyway. Play knight f6. Okay. So it's like tempting to play queen a5 and like attack the bishop because they have to guard with the knight. And it's just a little awkward. But I don't need that. They're not like losing or anything, and I'm going to just get a more traditional educational structure with the Philidor defense. Generally, this is not a good move against the Philidor. My pawns are on dark squares, so this is my bad bishop, and I'm very happy to trade these pieces. So, and if they come back, they're kind of stuck between these two squares. So I'm going to already point that out. That pawn would normally be defended by the bishop, but it's not. So I'm going to ask them what their plan is in life. How are they going to react to this? So I think you just have knight takes pawn, right? Oops. Because there's a discovered check here. It's a little messy. Knight takes pawn, pawn takes, bishop takes bishop. You can take this, but then I take this. Oh, let's do it. The idea is if they take the knight, I take the bishop. If they take the bishop, I play checkmate. So it wins a pawn. Tactics, tactics, tactics. You know, tactics are not even really my forte. It's so pleasant in making a course because you can just turn on Stockfish and say like, "Hey, Stockfish, handle the tactics." I'm just going to go for positional understanding. In these positions, it's not as easy because I have to look alive. Okay, I'm going to retreat my knight rather than let my knight die. It looks like I've won a piece now. So that was kind of fancy, but fortunately for them, I can just retreat the knight, and black has got a really good position. Okay, they were stopping me from taking there. That was very sensible of them. So I'm going to just continue developing my pieces. Maybe I'll go there. Attack the queen. Say hello to the lady. Ask it to move on with its life. Okay. Maybe I should say hello now. Is it time to say hello? There's like this line where I can play here, and they pretty much have to play here if they don't want to trade queens. And then I play here, and I trap their bishop, but the position is opening up. Trapping their bishop. It's a bishop. It's a whole bishop. Okay, I can't help myself. Can't keep my hands out of the cookie jar, so I'm going to just do this. So if they go here, that's the way to save the bishop. Then I'll just trade queens and maybe take there. I didn't even consider this move. So it just goes to show that you have to be a little careful. This move looks very scary. Is their queen going to get trapped? Where's that queen going after I play like g6? I don't know if I should be upset with myself that I didn't consider that move or proud of myself that it just like was totally off my radar because it was a mistake. It's like I can't even see the mistakes. I can only see other moves. But yeah, I'm a little bit sad that I didn't see the move, but like I think the queen is trapped. Guarded by the pawn, guarded by the knight, guarded by the knight, guarded by the pawn, guarded by the bishop, guarded by the bishop, guarded by the bishop, guarded by the knights, both knights, and guarded by the rook. So I think that's it for the queen. Maybe there's like an intermezzo move, like they can take, probably the best for them is to take here and then take here, so they get some material for it. But even then, at the end of this, their bishop's trapped. So we have another trapped piece. Yeah, okay. Okay, I normally don't like losing the bishop pair, but it's like I don't care because I'm up so much material. And I kind of like just the trades. So I'm going to just make sure my king is kind of safe. And I'll start attacking to the point where they want to trade. Is kind of the goal here. Okay. If you insist that I keep the bishop here, I will keep the bishop here. Defend that pawn from being captured. One thing to do in chess, like when you don't know what to do, is just count the undefended pieces. So that knight is potential prey. I'm gonna just put my rook on an open file, and then maybe later we're gonna have some fun. It should be noted that this pawn is actually pinned, so the knight must move, or I'll just take it, and they won't be able to take back. So that is a pretty concrete threat. Okay, they're attacking my queen. They don't want me to pin them. I totally understand. I'll back off. The bad news there is that their knight is on the rim, which is not a wonderful place for the knight. And I'm going to continue to open up this file. Continue. The pawn is pinned because of the rook. We're going to just attack. If they push, I can at least win the exchange, which would be winning advantage. And if they don't push, then I'm going to take on g2, which they're going to let me do. I'll take with the bishop. Man, taking that knight seems so simple, but I have such a good position, I might as well play for mate. Keep the bishop pair. Okay. We'll accept the liquidation offer. Man, I'm only 848. The downside of Game in 5 minutes is these games take a while. This YouTube video is going to be on the long side. I'll probably divide this into segments. So maybe I'll get to like 1,000 today. And then we'll do another video of me moving past 1,000. There. Okay, the knight's coming in. Let's see if we can trade off some pieces. I would love to move my queen in. So that's the other idea of moving the knight, is like I can finally breathe a little. The queen. Okay, if I go here, they'll play here, but then I can come in. I just want to come in with my queen. Just finish up this game so I can move on to the next one. Okay, that tags rook. I mean, you might be like, how are they taking the rook? It's easy to get flustered. I mean, when you're losing, it typically snowballs. So that's what's happening there. Okay, so moving up to 864. This is Echo 1991. Sorry, 991. We're going to play an attack on the e-pawn. If they play knight c6, we're going to transpose to a Philidor. And then now we're in the Philidor. Let's see if they continue the great tradition of trading queens. No, they're pushing. This is another kind of club player move. It doesn't develop a piece, so it's a little suspect. And what's going to happen is white's going to be able to trade a center pawn for a side pawn some way. So in this case, I'm going to take them. And you can see I have 2 pawns in the center, and they're going to have 1 pawn in the center. So I'll just have more pawns in the center. So that's the basic gist of my advantage. And that should ideally lead to something. Maybe not the biggest advantage in the world, but it's still very nice to start with a little bit of an edge. Okay, this kind of weakens those squares, but it's okay. I'm going to just continue developing. Okay, I guess they're going to try to like play on the queen side with some kind of pressure. I can attack this or play on the king side. I'm kind of happy playing on the king side. Let's continue on my jolly way. Maybe I should have played d4 first. I don't really know where that bishop would have gone. So that was an interesting idea. I'm just going to continue developing. My opponent seems to be playing, pretty decent moves. They're developing their pieces. They're castling. So I don't think I can count on a huge edge when they do this, but we'll see. So I could play here, but their bishop would be really, really good. Maybe that's okay. It would be a great center for me, and I can contest it later. Still, this seems the easiest course. We're just defending the pawn. I'm just going to defend it this way. It seems just very solid. This knight can't move very well, so I'll just kind of keep the tension for now. Okay, so they're just kind of stopping me from playing in there. That's understandable. Let's just hold down the fort on the queen side a little bit, make that pawn push a little more tricky for them in case they want to come at me. Okay, they're maneuvering. That's a weird maneuver. I guess they're coming here. So I would love to get this knight better. I'm thinking here. And I would also love my bishop to be better. So this saves 2 birds with 1 stone. We're going to say it like that instead of kills 2 birds because I don't need to be violent here. So let's go into there, attack the bishop, see if I can win the bishop pair at least. Okay, they're letting me win the bishop pair. Oh, man, my knight is really good, though. It's a really good knight. But the bishop pair is the bishop pair. Oh, pleasant choice, pleasant choice. That is their bad bishop. I would love to get my queen in the game. How is that going to happen? Love to, like, move the queen over in that direction. I guess bishop g4 is an idea there. It is like to tuck it back and then I can come in here. Okay, fine. If you insist, but at least I got g6 out of them. It's any pawn move is usually kind of nice to achieve in these systems. So I kind of want to go here. Although I don't mind my bishop, so maybe the queen can reroute this way. Or here. Kind of indecisive here. Got to make some decisions. Let's go ahead and give up the bishop pair if they want. I'm going to try to take back that way. Really don't think this is the best move, but I was running out of time, so I'm gonna have to live with the decisions. Okay, let's tuck back the bishop so they don't just control this diagonal later. Okay, queen there, king there. I think I should be going for an e5 push. Seems maybe a pipe dream. Or maybe here. Could play h4 and kind of put some light pressure on their position. Looks like I have a little bit of an attack. Not too much of one, but just a little bit. Okay, so they can take there, but if I take here, that's really good. Like this attack is pretty intense. I don't know if they can just be delaying by taking a bunch of pawns while I have like there. Yeah, and then if I play here, I hit their queen, I'm threatening to come into h6. This pawn can come up to f6. Okay, yeah, but that just loses a queen. Okay. Oh, too bad. It's a lot of stress for my opponent. I think that's, when you're being attacked like that. This is not even that great. It hangs this pawn, but I'm just kind of moving for mate at this point because they're down a queen. Okay. I think here, threatening checkmate. Okay, I think here, threatening check and kill the rook. But then here. They block with the rook and then checkmate. Yeah. Yeah, they just gave up too much space on the king side and it led to a mate. I had just more pawns that way and that can happen. So d3, I'm now 865. Trying to be my best self. Playing the cow / Old Indian Philidor. Haven't had a lot of Old Indian games, and I'm not really surprised because at like the 800 level, you're going to predominantly see e4. You'll see maybe a few Londons, but it'll be few and far between. As I start to climb, I'm going to get more and more probably Old Indian games, I predict, as people start switching over to d4 openings. So we have d3. Let's play e3. Waste of tempo. I don't recommend doing this, by the way. This is not technically the two courses I made. Could be a white repertoire if you played in this way. But I'm hoping you can do better than just wasting a tempo for nothing. At the very least, you can play e4 right away and add a tempo up. So that would always be a better course than what I'm doing. It would just be maybe less instructive. So we're in now a Philidor again. Let's do this. Let's do this, Black. This is Kuldeep Kera, who is from India. So well, I was hoping we'd get an Old Indian if he's from India, but he's from the modern India, so I can't make it. This is the main line. He played the right move. This is the tension variation between these two pawns, and they're just going to kind of look at each other for long periods of time until someone snaps. Generally, Black wants to keep the tension here, is what they should do. But it's often too tempting for them to push or take. So it's very hard, especially at the lower levels, for them to just live like this all their life. When there's like this rom-com tension in the middle, it's like one of the pawns just wants to like dive in, eat each other. I guess that's not rom-com, that's more like Jaws. But you know, it's very shark attack in the middle of the board. And it's hard to keep this tension, to just like keep it alive and just know when you're supposed to end and when you're not. Usually at the beginner levels of chess, like people don't break the tension. They just kind of like play too quietly, and then they realize they can like force moves, and they're like boom, 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 take the pawn, trade the queens, boom, 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 and then they learn to hold back, and then they're like, I don't have to take the pawn right away, I don't have to trade the queens right away, I can do that maybe later. And so that's kind of like the evolution of chess. This position is really rich. We're in a mainline Philidor. My opponent is taking a deep think, which is kind of a troubling sign for them because you really should know what you're doing in the mainline Philidor for both sides. You can easily get a worse position. Say like Black takes, then this pawn is going to be better than this knight, and so they can. It just results in a really, really hard position for Black to play. So some like innocuous looking moves can really backfire. I don't know what he wants to do. So, he should take his time, but it is blitz chess. So, if you're ever surprised at an opening, what I recommend you do is just develop your pieces. So, you're developing this bishop or this bishop can't be that bad. It would technically be a mistake to move there because my pawns are on light squares. That's my bad bishop. So, you don't want to induce trades, and technically they have a little more space. So that's another reason not to induce trades. But it wouldn't be like the worst. And it also fits with, Okay, yeah, they abandoned. That's the power of the Philidor. Your opponents will abandon the game. Okay, Old Indian. So in my course, I also recommend d6, but I do not want them to transpose to the Philidor because I'm so excited I got d4. And they're playing the Trumpowski. This is like, these sideline d4 openings are really common. So I still want to play d6, e5, but I don't want to break my pawn chain. So what I'm going to do is just put a bishop here to unpin the knight, and then I'm going to play d6, e5. And so it's going to feel Old Indian-ish. White has been scared to play e4, which, I get. You can be scared to play e4. But what's going to happen is these pawns are just going to kind of advance. And now I think black might even be slightly better because this knight is bad again. And this knight's not great. So I guess the idea is they want to put a knight here. Was that the idea of losing the bishop pair? What? Yeah, okay. They can go here, but they just lost a piece, so it's aggressive, but I don't know if it's that scary. Okay, so they're gonna put a knight there and block that. I'm just gonna develop my pieces. Actually, I gotta kick that knight. I really don't like that knight living on this very centralized square. I'm gonna have to ask it to move. And then develop my bishops. So we'll take. I think I can take that too. Okay, I think my opponent's just flustered. That's the best way to describe it. They actually have some counterplay. If they play a rook here, rook check, it's not so easy, but I don't think enough again. Okay, so let's keep developing our pieces. The one thing they have is I haven't finished developing, so they get to, feel like they have initiative and that their position's fine for a little bit longer before they start feeling the effects of the missing piece. But now I think they're gonna be moving back. They're gonna be on the retreat. Yeah, and pieces matter. I mean, it might not seem like it's the end of the world, but it can be pretty bleak at the higher levels. We'll just kind of play with initiative. See in game, so my king should technically come in. They want to come there, so I'll say no. Let's not let their knight come there. Okay, they want to go there with the knight, I guess. I'll say no. This is like trying not to let them move their knight very easily. So my bishop is totally boxing out that knight. See, look at that. Look at that force field. Then, I don't know, here. Try to move into the squares. So I have some options here. Here is the simplest. And also threaten to discover check, but I'm not checkmating here. I can just play this quietly, get a queen. And now my pawn's going to promote. So I'll play kind of quickly without too much commentary from here on out. A little precise, but this position should be over. I'm up a piece and things are queening. Let's go here because I don't want to allow c4. Again, the bishop against the knight. See how the bishop just kind of blockades the knight from making any progress? It's very, very tricky. I didn't even have to move the bishop. I could have just continued marching, but I don't know. It's there's no reason to do anything. Like we don't want to turn into Tony Hawk as soon as we're winning and do something like super fancy. Like, look what I can do. I can lose a bishop. It's we can be very low drama. So I'm now 882. Playing an 868. Let's play the cow. Okay, and I guess we got e4. Okay, we'll play the Old Indian. Okay, they're playing very fast. very excited about. They've memorized. This is the line. Okay, so as I said, if they don't play their pawn up, then eventually, we play our pawn up. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Oh my gosh, I meant after d4. Okay, so I dropped a pawn from playing too fast, and now they dropped a knight from playing too fast. Okay. Okay. Not the most glorious game, but this will do. I'm gonna just continue to move my pieces out. I need to move this knight out, so I'm moving this knight so that I can move this knight here. I'm also attacking that pawn. Not that that's a huge threat, but it's very preventable for them. Let's continue to get out our pieces. They're getting some counterplay that I am sad that I'm giving them. I do not want to open up the file for this rook. So I'm going to just play... Which one? I think this one has more of a future. So we'll go here. That way at least we can take back with the knight instead of totally running our pawn structure. Okay. So the goal is they're going to take back with the queen and try to checkmate me. And it's not the end of the world, but I would prefer to not allow it. So the question is, what do I do? Play knight g3, d5. It's very complicated. Should be okay, but it's very complicated. Let's go for this. They haven't castled, so I really, really want to open the position to try to take advantage of that. Okay, that is an option. I don't know. This looks scary for them later, so I kind of don't want to play knight f4 because I kind of want to retain that pressure. But knight h4 looks super passive, so let's go here. I just like the defense of the knight, like on principle. Okay, so they're going there. I got to develop my pieces. What is this? d5 is another option. Let's develop the pieces first before I open it up. Let's make sure I'm ready to open it up. Okay, so they can move there. It's an idea. I would like to possibly trade the bishops. They're not threatening mate, though. My knight's guarding that, so... It is scary, though, if my knight moves. Yeah, they're one-track mind. Okay, let's play here. And if they trade queens, then no, I'll take it. Okay, they're still at it. I know what they want in life. Checkmate me there. Okay, let's guard it again. Okay. I don't know if they should. They might have had some play with castle queenside. But now they can't castle, so I'm less concerned. Let's go here. These discovered attacks. Okay. Guess I can take here. They're going to try to threaten checkmate again. Recurring, but I can block. And now that's really scary for them. So check wins the queen. Check probably wins a queen. So which way to do it? Let's do it this way. Yeah, and this is over. I don't even need to take the queen, I don't think. They're going to threaten checkmate one last time. As they perish from the board, it's mate in one. King there is forced, and then queen there is checkmate. The rook will be guarding the queen, and it's over. So they've abandoned. I'm at 890. Let's go to... I think we're only going to get to 900 today, but I originally had my heart set on higher, but I mentioned this in the course, this e4, f4, this gambit idea, and I recommend playing e5 against it. You can, of course, play all kinds of... You can turn into a French or whatever else. Now, the idea is you just don't develop your knight right away, because if they take here, then you take, they take, queen here forks these 2 pawns. Actually, you sack your knight first, and then you fork these 2, and you gain back the material. So bishop c4 is correct, and then I can just take. And the thing about all these openings where white doesn't play d4 is that you can play d5. And so that's kind of a saving grace. I think I can sack and play it now. If I recall, castle king side, I know I can sack and play it if they play d4. So I don't see why I couldn't do it if they haven't. But castles is even safer, because I can just do it next move. Okay, take. It's a little scary, but I think it's totally okay. Let's go for it. I think this is okay. You do this fork. This is like a thematic idea in this line. But it could be that this is premature because they've castled. And so that was the debate. If I castled and they played like d3, I could have played like c6 and gone for d5, which should have also been good enough to equalize. Like I'm playing a little more than for equality here. I'm playing for a little bit of an edge. But it could backfire. So here, they should definitely retreat the bishop. The bishop is way more important than the knight. So bishop d3 is probably the best move to just recapture the pawn and keep the bishop. And they can do this, but their bishop is still attacked. So. And again, if I'm them, I'd probably play bishop d3. Yeah, so the problem is I'm now developing, and I have the bishop pair, and the position is kind of open. So this is definitely favorable for black. The question is, how greedy do I want to be? This pawn is... g5 would be like pure greed. I'm not there yet. I think, well, bishop d6. They take this. Maybe I should play pure greed. Okay, let's go for it. Pure greed. Just when I said I'm not... There's a lot simpler ways to play this position, but it kind of reminds me of King's Gambit, but it looks pretty good for black compared to the normal King's Gambit accepted. Black hasn't normally castled, so I'm not quite sure it's good for black, but certainly seems it. I'm just gonna hold on to this. The big thing is it's less about the pawn for me, and it's more about like just not letting them have this long file and not letting them have this good bishop. So it's more about the piece activity white would get in the event they took it, and my king can just slide over to h8 and just like a mini castle. It's a little baby, cutie little wooty castle. So I'll do a cutie castle if I have to. Trademarking that term, cutie castle. So I think I just continue developing. And I'm just going to move pieces over to the king side in case they try to get an attack, but it's not so simple for white to do anything with this position. Okay, so I've developed most of my minor pieces. Now it's time for me to develop my rooks. So I'm going to play here, kind of prophylactically stopping their knight from coming in, because now I have 2 pieces on it, and also kind of clearing the e file for my rook is the idea here. They attack this pawn and this pawn. I'm not sure I totally care. I care a little. Okay, I care a little. But I'm going to move rook here. I'm going to attack their knight back. They can attack this with the idea of attacking that. I don't know it's an even trade because I end up with a rook on the 7th, but also they have to like deal with the tactics of knight here attacking their queen, and then their knight is still hanging. And they might be good there, but I don't know. And their queen is a little misplaced. So it looks like I have 2 good options. The safe option of rook takes knight, and this more wild option of knight a5. Knight a5, queen a6, guarding the knight that way, then rook e6. Okay, we're not... Good. They didn't make me think about that. Okay, their knight can't move. So I could play queen e7, but then they'll just play rook e1. And Has anything really been achieved? I'm not sure. So let's instead start the doubling up process. Rook e6. Maybe I can play queen here, rook here, and just dominate the file. I mean, this can't move very well. This can't move very well. Now this knight can come here, I guess. I'm not going to let it go there easily. I'm going to pin it. I'll let it go there eventually. I'm just going to, you know, have a little fun. Okay, now this knight can't move. So I guess I could play g4, winning a pawn, because they have to go to e5. But I'm not sure that's great, because then this pawn will fall. So let's not play too fancy. Let's just keep control of this file. And we're just going to put everything on this file. It's the one open file in the game, so we're just going to just close it down. Without that file, it's going to be very hard for white to move. You can already tell, like, the bishop is on the same colors. This is having to go back. I'm just going to retreat this back this way. Both ways seem good to me. But I'll retreat it back this way. That way the queen can't go here, the knight can't go here. And there's no trades. So what I was worried about is if rook takes rook, queen takes rook, if I had retreated the bishop back this way, maybe queen e2, trying to trade and, like, get out of the jam. And here they can't play queen e2 because the bishop. Of course, they can play queen e1, so it's not like I totally demolished it, but rook e8 is coming. Okay, so they want to go there, and I'm going to just say no. Whenever you see a knight here, you often just try to push a pawn there, and it just, like, stops it from coming in. Okay, I guess that's the downside of moving my bishop where I did. They have that move, which is a good move. I have to hand it to them. They played a good move. Okay, I'm going to play rook here. They're going to be able to take this file now, which I really didn't want to give them. I have some threats on this diagonal. Let's keep it aggressive. Keep it active. Move the queen closer. So I would love to play like knight here with the rook pinning the pawn, and then the knight coming into here, possibly, with a good position. They got to move, though. They're at 30 seconds. I'm at 124, so they're about to experience some real time pressure if they're not horrendous wrong. And I'm at 890, so I'm almost at my goal for the evening. Okay. The worry if I go here is that the queen could end up trapped. I mean, there's not a lot of squares there because everything's blocked up, but it's so aggressive. It's so tempting to play in that aggressive manner. They would have to get a bishop here to trap it, or a knight around. Both seem tricky to achieve without losing a lot of tempos, but nonetheless, let's play it simple and move back. I could have also retreated here. In fact, retreating here would have been better because the queen is out of play here. I'm like playing a little too aggressively for what this position entails. Okay, so let's move our knight in. That's the one piece I was kind of concerned wasn't very good. So I'm going to move the knight in here. The pawn can't take the knight because the rook will take the queen. And my opponent is out of time. So I'm 898. Let's have one more to make me 900. I could feel the power of 900 coming to me. Okay, here we go. We'll play e3 this time instead of d3. And now it's called the Vant. No, it's still called the cow, according to chess.com. Okay. Okay, chess.com. I don't care that you called me a cow. Play the Philidor. And then they play the club player, like a club player mainline idea of pushing. And the same principle here. I would ideally like to take back with a knight, so I'm going to defend it with a knight. Because I just kind of want to keep tabs on this pressure. What I want to do is take here and have them take back the pawn. So I think that's possible now. I forget. Memory. Okay, I think, like, I know you're supposed to play knight b3 and attack the bishop and the pawn in these types of situations. But I can't remember with this pin whether I'm supposed to like kick the bishop first, unpin it that way first, or just take. I legitimately cannot remember. So let's play h3. It can't be horrible to play h3. Well, now I look like a genius because they just hung the bishop. Okay, so now I will attack the bishop. I'm also attacking this pawn. And they've got some pins down this file, so I can just take that. Okay, now I want a rook. And my opponent's rating is 915, so we're getting into pretty decent players, but this game is not going well for them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just make sure they take back with a pawn here. Because then their bishop is just so bad. So you can't move, it can't move there, can't move there. This knight is totally boxing it out. Now I can just continue to play super greedy chess by playing knight takes pawn. And actually, this is just totally uncalled for. It's very fancy. I think it still works. If they play here to hit my rook and the knight, I can take that intermezzo. So it's pretty good. They obviously want a castle queen side, but the castle queen side, I'm going to play knight here and I'm going to fork them. So it's going to be sad. Maybe they want to check me. Yeah, they could check me. Okay, let's not allow the check. Let's play here. I also like this because it guards the knight, just in case they played like queen here, threatening lots of stuff. So I think I can just play this move and fork their queen and rook. And of course, they can play here to attack me, and then I attack the rook. So I'm not really winning the exchange if they find queen f6. But what I am doing is trading a ton, and I'm winning, so trading is great. So they take this rook, and now my knight can escape. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. My mama said, play this knight move. That's how I make all of my chess moves. I'm just kidding. They both look fine. They both look pretty active. This one looks a little more solid because my pawn can guard it like that pretty easily, but they were both fine. Okay, so if they could play like bishop here, then they would technically win a queen, but they can't do that because my knight will just eat it. Okay, so they're saying that, but I'm going to just take out that bishop. And remove that hope they have of winning that queen with the cheapo. In fact, I should just start expanding a little bit on the king side because I have all these passed pawns, and passed pawns are meant to be pushed. Okay, and we'll take. And then I can continue to push. I guess there's no need. I should continue developing. They're going to hit my knight, and I don't like that my knight has nowhere happy to go. There's just not a fun square in play for the knight. Okay, let's go here. I don't love that I have to retreat back here, but you got to go somewhere with your knight, you know? That's life. So I'm going to continue to push my passed pawns. And I would really love to develop my bishop because even though I'm up material, it doesn't feel like it because this rook's not doing much. This knight's back here. So it kind of feels like I'm almost down, except that that knight is also pretty bad. I'm just going to trade. This is lame, but I win a pawn. And it simplifies because this pawn is part of their pawn storm. So now I can just take these other pawns. Is that bad? Is that bad? I mean, why find out? Let's just ask the queen to move. I could take this pawn and just continue pawn grabbing, but I have enough pawns that technically, it should be enough to win without needing more. Okay, so there's discovered checks against the queen. So just as a preliminary, I'm going to go here, guard the queen, guard the pawn, make sure there's no funny business. Okay, they're attacking. Ooh. Which is the easier defense? Here, that allows movements here, or to keep the pawns on the board and have a little bit of a shield? Let's go here. I think pawn takes would have been fine too. In both cases, black needs a cheapo kind of to win. There's nothing... If I don't make any egregious errors, then this game is over. So we'll just trade queens, and I'm really glad that I'm able to trade queens. Let's guard this pawn. And then I think I can just make a queen. I have 1 minute left, but that's plenty of time. That's enough to checkmate. Okay, and I am 906. Thank you, all you viewers, for tuning in on the movement from 800 to 900. In my next video, I will try to do 900 to 1000, and hopefully I will be, in good chess shape while explaining on the upper levels as well. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next.